Okay, let's talk about the slideshow settings. And if you're unfamiliar with slideshows in Cyberschool, it's perfectly fine. I'm just going to be going over the settings. And so, just what we're seeing in here. Currently, this one is disabled. Let me go ahead and enable that, and I'll save. Okay, and then let me go ahead and just create a rudimentary um, slideshow here. So I'm going to create a gallery. Um, Training gallery. Make sure it's shared publicly or else you won't be able to use it in a slideshow. Mm, Go to pictures. All right, let's just take these. Okay, then refresh. Now on slideshow settings, you see training gallery there. So let me go ahead and save this. So we have some images. Okay. So these slideshow settings, excuse me, you'll see we have the title, which is just the title of the settings there. Nobody's going to see that title but you. In terms of layout, default is the actual slideshow. Video is actually going to be if you want a video in your slideshow instead. So this setting, essentially what's going on with this slideshow or this video setting is if you would rather have a video playing whenever somebody visits your site, we can accommodate for that. We just ask that you send the video to us so that we can optimize it and actually get this placed into it for you. Um, Videos are actually really large in size, and so they actually slow down the responsiveness. That's why we ask that you send it to us first before you actually go on filling up this video URL. It's not the same as just throwing the uh, youtube.com/embed or anything like that. It's actually a, a special, like unique URL that we typically provide for you. Okay, but just leaving that as default. We have number of images to show, which is, let me zoom in here. How many images are going to be sliding throughout this slideshow here? It goes up to 25. Anything after 25 slows down your responsiveness. So you might see, page unresponsive or something like that. 25 is typically the cap there. So I would say, choose your favorite 25 and then go ahead and place those into the gallery to be shown. Then we have image order set to new. So all the newest images that you upload will be displayed first. We also have random, which is the general kind, which is you know, the images will be kind of shuffled around or randomly chosen so that every time you refresh, it's a different set of images. We also have oldest, so all the oldest are shown first. So as you upload new images to the gallery, um, they'll be displayed last in the slideshow. Okay, and you've already seen this before with slideshow settings. These are all the albums that are currently publicly shared, so they can be used in a slideshow. And you can select more than one. I currently have one, but you can just check mark all the ones that you want to use in the slideshow. And let's not worry about the video fit. That'll be set for you if you want to have a video. Okay, but then we have things like button background color, button text color, button background hover color, and button text hover color. So if you happen to have a button on one of your images, and I'll show you in just a moment, this is just setting the colors for those. Genuinely, whenever you want to configure something like that, let me open up that gallery again. I'll select an image and then right click and say edit. Okay, so if you have a link title and link URL available, I believe it'll be displayed as a button, and that's what those colors are configuring. Description is actually the caption that goes along with this. So I would say fill this out if you'd like captions, and we'll be discussing captions in just a moment. Okay, but then we have dimensions, and these dimensions are completely changeable by you. If you're not happy with these dimensions, you can just go ahead and say 1600 instead. You can uh, just type in whatever dimensions you like there. But genuinely, and I'll say this pretty loosely, but genuinely, if your images have these dimensions, I would say at the very least height, they should be fitting pretty well inside the slideshow. You shouldn't be experiencing any distortion or chopping unless they're resized to be these dimensions. And so what I mean is we can go into our file system. Let me go ahead and pull up a picture here. Just open it in Paint. So this is just opened up in Paint, and I can resize this, say, set it in pixels to 550, and you'll see the horizontal is how wide it is, 550 by 1100. It doesn't look half bad, but that's how it's actually going to appear in the slideshow. So I would say definitely, you know, at least have the height be the same, this vertical here, and allow the image to maintain the aspect ratio so that the width will actually configure itself according to the height. No, don't save. Okay, and again, those are configurable by you. Then we have basic settings like the button font size. Again, if you want to have a link displayed as a button, you can configure the font size here. Background size is actually a very useful setting here. Set to cover. This is just default, so you'll see the images in the slideshow are actually covering the slideshow section, the entire 1750 by 550. This isn't actually 1750 though. It's just a rather large setting. I can decrease that, and you'll see it actually start to not really decrease, but around like 1200 or whatever the actual screen size is. That's when it'll actually see any changes made. But let me go ahead and change this to say contain, and you're going to see a dramatic difference in the images there. Okay, so now you see the images are actually contained within the slideshow here. So they have their normal width, I believe, or I believe it actually shrunk down to be more resolute inside this. But let's go ahead and try a different setting, auto. So what auto will do is it'll actually leave it up to the browser to fit the images inside the slideshow. So it may look different depending on whatever browser you're using, but you'll see, yeah, some blurriness, some pixelation there, because that image is much larger than the actual slideshow there. So it's kind of like keeping the images to have their own dimensions within the slideshow. But that is actually with unset. So unset will actually keep the images to have their own dimensions and set them inside the slideshow. So I see it looks very much like this, the same thing. Okay, then we have 100%, 100% is the last one. And this is essentially going to stretch the images to fit 100% wide and 100% tall within the slideshow there. So this is where you might actually see um, some results, some stretching so that it fits perfectly. So yeah, this is definitely being stretched, definitely being stretched, definitely being stretched. Okay, so let me go ahead and set that back to cover. Okay, then we have transition effect. This is basically how it'll slide to the next image. By default, it's set to slide, so it's just sliding to the next one. Then there's also fade, if you'd like it to fade to the next image, or cube. Cube is there's no real way to describe it. It's just gotta show you. So now you'll see it's actually like placed into a cube and just sliding. Not really sliding, but kind of flipping to the next one. Okay, there's also cover flow. Let's go ahead and show you what that's about. So, okay, so you see it uh, kind of fly in actually. Okay, and the last one is, oops, just flip, just a genuine flip, like flipping a page on a book. Okay, so I'm gonna set that back to, I like fade. Okay, then background position horizontal and background position vertical. So to imagine this, imagine that the entire screen that you're seeing is an actual image. So background position horizontal and vertical will actually place the focal point inside the center, and then from there, it'll take the actual dimensions, the 1750 wide and 550 from the actual image. And those are changeable. So for horizontal, let's say left center. So on the horizontal, it'll go left and then center, and then 1750 wide, and then 550 horizontal or tall, or bottom left, so bottom left around here, so 1750 wide or 550 tall. Okay, so this is really useful if you have images that are, the focus of the images are like um, top center. If you're taking an image where you kind of have a lineup of people, people are just lined up one by one, and you just want to get their faces, you can just do top center so that it'll grab 1750 wide and then 550 tall. And then, if it was center center, it would be, you might see some head chopping or something like that. Okay, custom CSS we can ignore. Just ignore what you're seeing in here. This is just some custom stuff added for the mobile view of slideshows. Okay, then we have show captions. If you'd like captions on your images, again, those are set in the description field of the image. So you can say if you want them placed on the bottom or custom placed, which is what these are that you're seeing. So if setting this to custom will be 44% from the top, so let's see, this is about halfway, so about right here, and then 20% from the right, so it'll be right about here exactly. So what this is going to do is it's going to actually place the caption box. Let me X out of this. So that's about 50%, 44%, and about 20% from the right. Okay, so about right here is where the caption box is going to appear. And those are again configurable down in this caption, say 50% from the top, or just say bottom, and then it'll actually place the caption right here down at the bottom, like right below the slideshow. Okay, then we have enable auto slide. If that's something you want to do, just so that it slides by itself. The slide delay in seconds, so every 5 seconds the image will slide, or every 1 second, so you'll see it kind of slide pretty quickly. Uh, let's go back to 5 though. Okay, and lastly we have background. This one doesn't really matter for the slideshow because for the most part the image is actually going to be what's going to be shown to the user. If you want to configure this, and again you might not see a lot, you'll see background color set to this dark color, which is just black. And so that's why in the background you're seeing just that black color. But yeah, that's just about everything with this slideshow settings. And then next we could talk about quick icon settings.